Duelists! Y'all Zoomers remember that Toy Story movie? Today, we're playing Wind Up. This is a deck that I have been loving on the ladder the last little bit and has been really rewarding in terms of going through and learning all the intricacies of this deck. So let's break it down because this deck does everything. It literally does everything. It never runs out of anything to do. It's actually it's nutty. It's nutty. It does everything except for go second. That's a little sketchy sometimes. But so the wind-ups are a series of monsters based on they're toys. They're toys, okay? They're all toys, okay? Series of level 3 and level 4 monsters that focus on making generally rank 3 plays. Our entire deck is essentially a series of rank 3s that want to get us to wind up Carrier Zenmaity. Now on the not the most recent list, but just before that, we got this out to 3. It's currently banned in the TCG, but it's at 3 on Master Duel. We're only playing 2 here, but you could opt for playing 3. And basically, we need any 2 level 3 monsters, hence why our deck is chocked full of them. And we can detach an Xyz material from this card and special summon a wind-up monster from our hand or deck. Now, notably, all of the wind-ups are soft once per turn. So if we can get an additional copy of this out there by spamming a bunch of level 3s, which we are apt to do, we can do it again. So this is all about essentially getting infinite material to set up all sorts of stuff. I'm actually going to start by talking about the extra deck of this list because we kind of have an end board that we can get to, and then basically how we get there just depends on what we open and what sort of things we have access to from our starting hand. So first up, obviously, Wind Up Carrier Zenmaity is huge. That is the 2 level 3s, and then we're going to get a wind-up from the deck. We've got Verte, so if we have leftover material at the end of our combo, we can go into DPE. Wind-up Zen Maintenance is going to be our wind-up link. When this is link summoned, we can add a wind-up from deck to hand. We can also banish a face-up wind-up we have, and then special summon another monster from the deck that has the same name as that card. So once again, like I said, these are not hard 1 per turns. This allows us to basically get an additional activation of whichever one we want, and then of course Zen Maintenance is the link 2, which helps us go into an Appaloosa, usually going to try and end on a 3 material Appaloosa. We've got IP Masquerada in case we have, once again, extra material at the end of the combo and we want to go into Appaloosa on our opponent's turn. Then we've got the Gallant Granite and the Die Gusto Emerald. These 2 being rank 4s are going to allow us to go into the number F0 and then overlay into the Utopic Draco Future. So that's going to be a monster negate plus a steal. And along the way, the Die Gusto Emerald can recycle our monsters because we go through a ton of monsters throughout the course of our combo. Can recycle our monsters as well as draw us one. And then Gallant Granite gets us this cute little interaction where it can actually grab us an Adamancipator Researcher plus some of our Earth level 3s, which is going to be about half of them are Earth level 3s actually, can get us Naturia Beast, which absolutely wrecks Runic in this current format. It's basically infinite spell negations. As long as we send the top 2 cards of our deck to our graveyard, we can negate the activation and destroy it. So this is essentially infinite negates, but it's got that Earth Tuner and non-Earth Tuner monster requirement, which is a little steep, which is why we're running that cute Gallant Granite interaction to grab Adamancipator Researcher. That being said, if we have Adamancipator Researcher already in rotation, our Gallant Granite can grab us a Nibiru just in case we aren't able to kill that turn or if we're going first. So, and then finally, if necessary, we can attack in with either a Zenmaity or one of our other Xyz monsters and overlay into a Downerd if it's the Zenmaity, or just a Zeus in general as a general stopgap. And since we can produce pretty much infinite material, we can get into access code talker lines as well. All right, main deck, we're running, as you can see, a ton of monsters. We're running the bare minimum of hand traps, 3 Maxx 3, 3 Ash, 2 Called By, and 1 Crossout. This basically makes sure that we can win the Earth Insect minigame as possible, but otherwise we're not playing in a bunch of other hand traps, so going second can be a little rough for this deck. We got the Singular Fusion Destiny, as well as the Dasher and the Denier. Great here because this is just another level 3, so it gets us into our plays. We really are just trying to get to Zenmaity as soon as possible. And then 2 Emergency Teleport, because that gets us the Psychic Wielder and the Psychic Tracker. These are both level 3s, and they say if you have another level 3 monster other than them, you can special summon it from your hand. So these are free 3s. Other free 3s include Junk Forward, which is going to be if we have no monsters, we can special summon it. Terratop, if we have no monsters, we can special summon it. And then also when it's special summon, we can add a Speedroid. We're going to add Takatomborg, which is another 3. And this special summons as long as we have a Wind, which Terratop is. So this just Terratop is a essentially a 1 card Zenmaity, which then gets us into all of our other stuff. And then we have 2 Danger Jackalope and 3 Danger Tsuchinoko. These are also, once again, just free 3s. You just got to be careful when you use them because you don't necessarily want to discard other important cards in your hand, or a lot of times you don't want to discard one of your Fusion Destiny targets or Fusion Destiny if you hard draw it yourself. All right, finally, let's actually get to the namesake of the deck, the Wind-Ups. First up, Wind-Up Rat. It is a 3. It is an Earth 3, so it can pair with the Emancipated Researcher, or we can just use it to get into a Zen Meity. We can target a Wind-Up monster in our graveyard, and then change this from attack to defense, and special summon that target in defense. That is one of the most key aspects of this deck, is that a lot of our things that special summon will special summon themselves in defense. So if this gets special summoned, it will already be in defense, you won't be able to use that. Notably, Zen Meity. If we use Zen Meity's effect, we can special summon this in attack position, and then change it to defense to special summon something from the grave, potentially even something that we detached off of our Zen Meity to get that activation. We've got the Wind-Up Magician. If the effect of a Wind-Up monster is activated that's in the grave, on the field, in the hand, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Wind-Up monster from your deck in defense position. Once again, you don't want to get Rat off this just because then you won't be able to use the Rat. But once again, this is a soft once per turn, so a lot of times we can go Wind-Up Magician into Magician into something else, and then we have 2 spent Wind-Up Magicians as 4s to get us into an Emerald, Gallant Granite, etc. And then we have the Wind-Up Shark. When a Wind-Up monster is normal or special summoned to your side of the field, you can special summon this, and then once per turn you can either modulate its level up by 1 or down by 1. We're never going up by 1. We're only going to go down by 1 occasionally if we need to get to a second Zen Meity. Generally, this is just an additional 4 to get us into our rank 4s here and continue our plays. And then lastly, we're playing 1 Wind-Up Rabbit. This is just another Wind-Up name to be grabbed from either a Magician or a Zen Meity generally, as well as it is another 3. So that is the deck in a nutshell. Let's get into the games. Alrighty. So general game plan for this is get to Zen Meity as quick as possible, and then we can basically do whatever the heck we want. Here we're going first. We have Terratop, which is a great opener. This is, once again, free special summon, grabs us to Takatomborg. Takatomborg can special summon as long as we have a wind, and then this is Zen Meity right here. We're going to go for Zen Meity and detach and grab ourselves a Wind-Up Magician. Then we can go Emergency Teleport. This is going to be a free Psychic Wielder. We can normal our Denier, go for a Zen Meity. Now when we activate the Zen Meity, that's going to proc the Wind-Up Magician and get us going. Another big thing about this deck is you always want to be managing, one, which of your monsters have used their effects, and then also your zones. Zones is huge since we can basically do infinite material. I used that Rat because it wasn't going to be able to activate its effect, as well as one of the spent Zen Meities to get Zen Maintenance and add, which is going to trigger our other Magician. We have a bunch of 4s now, so we can go into Gallant Granite. Gallant Granite detach, add ourselves a Emancipated Researcher. Now you got to make sure to special summon Researcher while Gallant Granite is on the field before you link it off for anything. Now we can go into Emerald. Emerald also happens to be a rock, even though it's a wind attribute, but it's great. We can shuffle those goodies back and then go into Utopic Future and Utopic Draco Future. Then we can link all 4 of those off for Appaloosa. We weren't able to get the second Rat out, so we weren't able to get the Naturi Beast out, but that is a reasonably fine combo, obviously, right? Ash Blossom plus cross out a monster negate plus steal, and then 3 monster negates on the Appaloosa. Also, this is one of the first games that I was playing with this, so I was still kind of learning. I was on very low time limit. I actually lose this game just to time limits. But anyway, we can do better, and I can play better. Let's get to the next replay. So anyway, that first hand was fine, and I played okay, but now I actually know what I need to do, and this hand is crazy. Now, unfortunately, we are on the draw. We've got the Ash for the pot. But we'll have to see if our opponent sets up any meaningful amount of negates. It might be a little bit hard to play through. We're on Runic. Okay, Hand Destruction. I basically just want to keep those free 3s, and this is a crazy hand. I mean, you don't love to see Junk Forward conflicting with Speedroid Terratop, and luckily our opponent didn't really hit much. They're going to go for the Hugin in the draw phase, and then grab themselves the field spell. But they don't have much to work with past this. We should easily be able to OTK through this. Luckily, they had no floodgates, but we'll see a game with some floodgates later on and kind of how we need to deal with those. All right, so always going to lead with the Terratop here because, once again, it's a free Zen Meity. Grab the Takatomborg. Takatomborg, special summon. And then we can special summon the Psychic Tracker as well since we had a 3 on there. Wanted to get that out before we went into the Zen Meity. Then Maybe detach, grab ourselves a Magician. Now we can go for Jackalope. Luckily, we don't really have a bad hit other than Call by the Grave. It's going to hit itself and grab us a Chusanoko from the deck. We can go into another Zenmaity so that we can proc our Wind-Up Magician. Zenmaity is going to detach and grab us a Rat. Preferably going to go for Rat with our Zenmaities if we don't have access to Magician, just because it's the only thing that's going to special summon it in attack position. Go for the Zen Maintenance, add the Shark just because it's the only thing we don't have in rotation. Wind-Up Magician is going to get us another Shark, which then will trigger the Shark in our hand to special summon itself. We've used all of our 4s, so now we can start going to our other rank 4s, like Gallant Granite. Add that Adamantivator Researcher. Gonna go for the Digesto Emerald now, just to free up some zones so that I have room when I want to activate the Rat and the Researcher. I'm gonna shuffle back in a couple of those bad boys. Always good to shuffle back in some of those Zenmaities, especially if you're going first, so that you can reuse them on turn 3 as necessary. All right, now that we've outlived the usefulness of our rank 4s, we can go into our UDF. Rat's gonna trigger. We're gonna grab ourselves a Shark. Now we can go into the Naturia Beast. Emergency Teleport's going to get us another 3. We could have modulated the Shark down to a 3, and then either went for the Wind-Up Carriers and Mayday again to continue, or we could have just went Shark plus whatever we got off Emergency Teleport plus Zen Maintenance is going to be a format Apollosa plus Monster Negate with UDF plus Infinite Spell Negates with Naturia Beast. That's kind of like full end board, as well as Called by the Grave in hand. So pretty crazy hand here. Another thing about this is that if you get proficient enough at the combo, a lot of times your opponents will just scoop, because this deck likes to take its time. And by that, and even when you're playing fast, it takes a lot of. Once again on the draw, but we've got good interaction, Maxx and Ash Blossom, and once again that Terratop seems glued to our hand. Our opponents on Virtual World are going to go Kowloon into the trap. With the Lala, we can actually Ash that, and that's a once per turn, so they're not going to have anything. They're going to go for Call by the Grave on the Ash. And I'm actually going to get crazy and chain the Maxi, which I realize is now a mistake. I should have waited for the Ash to resolve, just because if they had an Ash, they could actually Ash my Maxi, and then mine would still be negated. I should have waited for theirs to be negated as well, but it's not really going to matter. They're going to get out the Lulu, and since we have the Maxi there, they are not going to go for any further plays. So we draw the 1, and Emergency Teleport is a great draw. I feel bad for the junk forward. It keeps getting stranded in our hand when we have Terratop. Terratop is strictly better, but of course it's a 1-of, and we have 3 junk forwards. Also, junk forward is an Earth 3, which is great for making Naturia Beast. You've seen the Terratop line now enough. While we still have things on field, we're going to go for the Wielder, as well as normal the Magician. Magician is probably our best normal, I would say. And then we can go for the Rat off the Zenmaity. Magician triggers, gets another Magician. We can link those bad boys off into Zen Maintenance, which will free up some zones. Always crucial. We always have so much material on field, but we want to make sure that things are free and open. Wind-Up Magician will trigger because we added the Shark. Shark will actually elect not to activate Shark, so we can activate Rat and get ourselves a Magician. Now we can go Magician plus Magician into Gallant Granite. I'm now realizing that I did not use that Magician. That was kind of a waste, but we needed to free up zones anyway. We've got a second Zenmaity. Now we can add ourselves a Researcher. We can go Researcher Special Summon. Shark plus Shark, no need to modulate. We can go into Digesto Emerald. That frees up a zone now that we can theoretically use that Zenmaity that we made. But first we'll shuffle and see if we draw anything. Anything excellent. Denier's nice. Zenmaity, activate. Get ourselves a Rat. We'll go both of our rank 4s into the Utopic Future and then into the Utopic Draco Future. By now you're probably seeing the end board that we're trying to get to is pretty much the same. We do use a majority of our extra deck while going through it, but it's just kind of what do you have access to, what can you chain through, and then managing, once again, zones and your once per turns, quote-unquote once per turns, just making sure that after you use up a Magician, all of a sudden now that is prime material to either go into a Zen Maintenance or one of our rank 4s. Same thing with the Zenmaities. As soon as we use those are primed to be linked away. A lot of times it probably would be more efficient for me to go straight for access code, but I wanted to practice running those lines while I could, and especially if our opponent had any sort of interruption, because we thrive going first, and being able to kind of set up this monster negate board is kind of what we're hoping to do on the crackback, as long as we can kind of contain our opponent. going for access code is perfectly fine. And all right, let's keep it going. Hopefully it's not getting too repetitive, but if it is, I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments. I just love this deck. You have to use your brain so much, but luckily it can just go, 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 go. You just got to think the lines out a little bit ahead of time. Very hard to brick in this deck. So we went for the emergency teleport, went for the rat. Unfortunately, we could have modulated the shark down to a 3 to go and then maintain the rat, but it's fine. Activate the shark. Activating the shark also is a great way to trigger magician if you don't have anything else, even if you don't need it as a 3. You know, you can even go up to a 5 to be cute. Here's in maintenance, adding another shark. Magician's going to trigger, which will special summon another magician. Shark's going to trigger, special summoning itself. We can now trigger that magician, get ourselves, in this case we got the rabbit, just because we wanted another 3. This will get us another Zenmaity, and now all of our magicians are spent, so we can start to loop those into our rank 4s. Here's the rat. Remember, once again, we can only special summon the rat in attack position via the Zenmaity, so we want to get it through that. Here's Granite. We're going to get ourselves a Researcher. Researcher obviously is a better play when you are on the play, because you can set up that Nat Beast for all those negates, as opposed to, like I was saying, just going for an access code or whatever and getting crazy with it. Here's the Emerald, and that's that. So here we could have gone, right, Special Researcher into Nat Beast, Digusto plus Gallant into UFD, and then we still had either Fusion Destiny if we wanted to go for DPE, or we could risk the Chusinoko. If we got the Chusinoko out, we could actually go 3-mana Apollosa. Otherwise, we could go Zen Maintenance and Zenmaity into something like an IP Masquerena. All right, hand's a little crusty just because Crossout and Dasher are sort of bricks for us, but once again, I swear to God I'm not cheating. The Terratop just loves me. They're going to go for Maxi, which, even though Crossout is technically a brick, that is great because this deck summons so many freaking times. I really wonder if... How many cards is our opponent on? Our opponent's on, 48 cards. Interesting. But for a normal 40-card deck, I really do wonder if we could actually deck someone out, especially if it was maybe the second turn and they Maxed us. But Zenmaity, always want to go for Zenmaity first. Here is the Magician. We can normal the forward to get a second Zenmaity, which we can now trigger to trigger our Magician, as well as getting our Rat. Also, Rat can technically special summon the Zenmaity from the grave. Obviously, it won't have any material, so you can't utilize it, but if you just need to trigger a Magician or you need more link material, Rat can get Zenmaity, or even Zen Maintenance, although a lot of times you're not linking off Zen Maintenance until the very, very end of the combo. Here's the Granite. Granite going to be good since we are going first, and we can go for the Materia Beast line. And that's it. Once again, once you get proficient with this deck, or even if you don't, some people just don't have the patience. A lot of times they will scoop as soon as they kind of see your combo going off, and we obviously disrupted their Maxx C. All right, back on the draw. This hand's looking a little crusty. I didn't mean for that one. I didn't mean to save that one. All right, so this is a bit of a different hand. Obviously, we have the Dasher in hand. We have the forward, can lead with the forward as a free, and then special the wielder for free. We've got the Zenmaity. Zenmaity's going to allow us to now special summon the Shark, and we can trigger the Zenmaity and go for the Magician. We're actually going to trigger the Shark just to trigger the Magician, even though we don't necessarily need a 3. Our Magician was spent. I was debating using that as in maintenance, but I want to keep some 4s on just so when we go for the Gallant Granite line. And our opponent's actually going to droll us. So this stops a few of our plays, but not too much because so much of it is special summoning from the deck as opposed to adding. Obviously, we added off the Zen Maintenance, but that is going to prevent us from not using our Gallant Granite, which is a little bit unfortunate, but we still have plenty of things that we can go into. Why not Magician will trigger, get us a Rabbit. Now that that is spent, we can go into the Emerald. Even though we don't get the Naturia Beast line, we can still go for the UFD line, and now we can get a fresh Rat using that Zen Maintenance ability to then bring back the Wind-Up Carrier. This is going to allow us to go into a large Apollosa, or potentially even a Verte. We can go into a second carrier. This technically is going to be +1 because we can send the rat, get the rat, and then the rat will get us the magician back, which technically can even go +1 again. Now we can go into a 4-material Apollosa, 3-material Apollosa, sorry. And then we can go into a Verte, which is going to get us a DPE. Unfortunately, don't love having to use the dasher in hand, but once again, if we can do all of this after getting drolled and after having essentially a brick in our hand, we have all this negation. Look at this. Non-targeting destruction of 3 monster negates plus a 4th monster negate in steel, as well as the Ash Blossom in hand. Yeah, our opponent's going to scoop it up. That is as close to the God board as we can get. All right, and finally, on the play, special the junk forward, normal the Takatomborg. You hate to see it, but the rest of our cards can be specialed by other effects. There's the shark. We got the Zenmaity. Zenmaity's going to get us a magician. Once again, we're going to utilize that shark to go down to 3 so that we can trigger our magician. Get ourselves a second magician. Linking off that shark and the spent Zenmaity for the Zen maintenance, that's going to get us another shark from deck, because that is the only thing that we can special. A lot of times you want to get whatever you can normal, because a lot of times we don't use our normal, but since we had to normal attack a Tomboard, we need that wind-up shark so that we can special it. Researcher going to special out for the Gallant Granite. We do have the Naturi Beast line, which is great. We can get a fresh rat using Zen Maintenance's ability, and that's also going to trigger our shark to send. Wind up rat, utilize this ability to get our magician. Now we can go into Naturi Beast, finally. Shark will trigger, go down to 3. Magician will trigger, getting another shark. This is just to make sure that we have enough material. Obviously, I could have gone into the Daigusto just with the shark and magician, but now we have an additional material. Shuffle back in a magician, a rat, and a carrier. That is potentially the best draw on the deck. Let's freaking go. Now, unfortunately, even though the dangers are free, I don't love using them just because a lot of times we want those things in our hand, and like, you know, when we have the rest of our hand the way it is, I would rather not hit the Maxi. I'd rather almost retain the Maxi, just since we are going first. If we were going second, we would just go balls to the wall. We would make access code, do the thing. But in this case, we can Heart of the Fusion Destiny, go for the DPE. I was hoping that we were going to be able to go into an Apo, but I forgot about the restriction on the DPE. But we do have the Denier back out here just in case. Opponent opens a Mono Awato because they're just too good. Sometimes it's a skill issue, really. And they're on Runic Stun, which is great. We love that. They're going to Duality. I can't do anything. Our entire deck is... They actually chose to go for the DPE, which is interesting. I figured they would want to go for the Naturia Beast in Runic, but since they're setting 4, maybe they're 4 trap cards. DPE obviously is out of the picture. It couldn't even activate its effect to special resummon itself because, you know, we will trigger Dasher and get a free junk forward. But now I'm looking and I'm thinking... let's go and switch everything to attack and see if they want to activate before we go for anything fresh. Gonna go for the Carriers and Meiji just because normaling the Chusinoko is actually going to be more damage. And then I'm going to lead with the Naturi Beast just to see if they wanted to special summon anything out, but it would still die to the Beast. Then we're going to go like this because as soon as they attempt to block, we can hit with the Draco feature. They're going to be forced to block here. We'll Max C. Now, they could go for Hugin. They could go for Jerry. Oh, okay. So I'm not going to go for Jerry because they could destroy ours in maintenance and then we wouldn't be able to go. But the onus is kind of on them at this point, so I'm just going to let them do their thing. We have lethal basically at any time. There's that Amano Awato again once again. They're going to go for the Baguska, but that's not going to be enough. We could easily... we could easily make a large link that can just attack over it, and then... basically any normal summon is going to get them out of it. So they didn't have much going on there, but you know, we had to play through some Blood Grates, had to deal with the Amano Awato crap. Since our deck is so monster focused, things like that can really mess us up. Though we're not too bad when it comes to things like there can be only one or even goes in match. And that's the deck. I love this deck. I've been on a tear through Platinum currently with it. Super fun to play. Like I said, this deck basically does everything. You never run out of material, but it's rewarding to kind of depending on what you start with, obviously have to find all the lines to what is a very competent and formidable end board. Obviously, going second can get a little rough if your opponent puts up a ton of negation. Luckily, we went first on a lot of those, and a lot of times, once again, once you start comboing, people just don't want to deal with it. They piece the fuck out, but we take those wins. It is what it is. Biggest thing is just zone management and managing your normal summon and those soft once per turns. But this is a super fun deck. Highly recommend y'all try it out. It is a little bit more of an expensive deck, especially when it comes to the extra deck, but a lot of those are going to be staples. But yeah, would highly recommend just hopping in and testing this out. Hopefully I showed you a few of the lines and kind of how you want to be managing your resources. But if you're not finding success in ranked mode, I'd highly recommend just going into solo mode, labbing it out against the very, very weak versions of the computer. You can even decide if you want to start on the play or the draw, access code lines, or the full negate setup, and you won't really have much interruption there, or any sort of a time loss perspective, so you can go and really practice things and make sure that you have all the lines down. But anyway, I love this deck, and I'll see you in the next one.